The charity fund in the sphere of support of social and cultural initiatives of Leila Adamyan presents Reproductive Tomorrow of Russia, Health of School Children is Our Care. Good morning, dear friends and dear colleagues. We wish you a very happy holiday on the occasion of the Day of Knowledge. I believe that knowledge is power. It's the power of occupation, power of the family, power of the profession, power of the state, and I'm very happy that we have gathered in such a big and beautiful team here. This is an educational university which demonstrates the latest achievements in science and practice, mostly in the sphere of reproductive health. Those who weren't able to come here can watch us on internet, and right in front of me there is a TV set, so I can see what we are saying, what we look like, and how great we are. Dear friends and colleagues, I was looking forward to this presentation. I'd like to introduce the correspondent member of the Russian Academy of Sciences, who is a cardiosurgeon, cardiologist, our big friend, and a person who really helps every time we ask her. Her name is Olga Bokeria. Thank you very much. The title of the presentation is Training of the Cardiovascular System of School Children, Path to Normalization of the Hormonal Balance, Health at the Birth and in the Future of Children. You know, while we were sitting here, I said, Miss Bokeria, you see, nobody thinks about the child's heart. We think about everything, school lessons, food, weight, or even sports. But the assessment of the heart condition depends on you. Thank you very much. The University of Leila Adamyan highly values you. The floor is yours. Thank you, Dr. Leila Adamyan. I'd like to repeat what Dr. Adamyan just said. The heart does not exist separately from the rest of the body. It is integrated in the organism. It provides oxygen to all the organs. At the same time, other organs influence the work of the heart. Speaking about adolescents, it was already described what it means to be an adolescent. It means having hormonal changes, frequent changing mood, lack of understanding of the processes happening in the inside and outside, flows of unclear information from outside, inability of the brain to control the situation because of the immaturity, high level of hormones and stress which result in anxiety and depressions. 10% of adolescents have an endothelial dysfunction, which is already a symptom of atherosclerosis, which is a predecessor of anatomic changes in the coronary arteries. In this slide, you can see that all the organs are interconnected. In other words, deterioration of the heart functions causes deteriorations in the functions of other organs. Changes in the hormonal status affects the heart and its formation. Besides, all those accompanying factors of the civilization which were mentioned here also directly affect the work of the heart. And I'm not gonna dwell on that in detail, but I'd like to mention that all the hormones get activated at the moment of the adolescent's maturation, while the adolescent is becoming an adult person. And they directly affect the heart cells and their work, and hemodynamics or blood circulation in the body. These hormones are hormones of growth, hormones of the thyroid and parathyroid glands, sexual hormones, insulin, hormones of the pancreatic gland, and hormones of the suprarenal glands. Here you can see the information about how these hormones affect the work of the heart. But it should be mentioned that the growth hormone, which is one of the main hormones, transforms the heart of a child into the heart of an adult person exactly during the period period of sexual maturation. It activates the growth of the heart muscle and assists in its contractions. The thyroid gland regulates the rhythm of the heart. It may contribute to arrhythmia, including life-threatening cases, and it regulates the calcium exchange, which is responsible for the strength of the heart contractions. The sexual hormones, they also directly affect the work of the heart. For example, estrogens get integrated in the potassium and sodium pump, which is also responsible for how the cells are contracting, how they receive electricity, and whether they receive electricity at all. We all know the life conditions of a modern child. They are poor ecology, unclear information from mass media and internet, too much additional work at school, low mobility, and bad habits. At the same time, our organism, which was shaped maybe billions of years ago, cannot change in a matter of a decade or even a few hundreds of years. So we must strive for the basic things which were established genetically to perform their functions correctly, and we should help that with the right food, right physical workload, and limited information flow, and through spending more time outdoors. It would probably be interesting for you to know that there is no place on Earth which is absolutely free from pollutants. And even the Antarctic ice, where there are no industrial facilities, also contains toxic substances of the modern plants, which are brought there by atmospheric flows. The economic activity of people is the main source of the biosphere pollution. The factors which negatively affect the cardiovascular system are lack of oxygen or hypoxia and environmental pollution. In up to 90% of cases, all the defects in the cardiovascular system occur in children living in environmentally polluted zones with high radiation, stress, noise, etc., including unfavorable social conditions. The main risk factors are psycho-emotional stresses, cardiovascular diseases in close relatives, diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, metabolic disorders, smoking, alcohol addiction, environmental pollution, high radiation, stress, noise, etc. I'd also like to mention the following thing, which is not quite about children. Our country ranks the second in terms of the death rate due to cardiovascular diseases. And around 700,000 people die every year. The life expectancy in our country is extremely low. It is around 57 years for men and 60 for women. In terms of life expectancy, we are a population which is shown with this color, which is 60 to 69 years. Today, thanks to an active fight against cardiovascular diseases, the life expectancy has increased. But at the same time, every year we lose around 1 million people because of the cardiovascular diseases. Look at the changes in the population size and age structure in our country. Please note that in the year 2000 we had quite many young people and the birth rate was high. But in the past 10 or more years, this tendency has unfortunately changed, and we have fewer and fewer adolescents, fewer young people, and we have more and more aged and old population. Our goal is to combat and destroy the contemporary stereotypes which were formed by the civilization. It should be noted that every fifth child suffers from obesity. We have already heard a presentation about how obesity affects the reproductive organs. In Russia, this tendency is unfortunately worsening. In 2015, there were 2.5 times more obese people than in 2011, and this trend is very negative. The increased age rate and reduced physical activity decrease the coronary reserve in children. I'm not going to speak about the polycystic ovarian syndrome because we had a very detailed lecture about that. I will only say that in such patients, the cardiovascular risk is very high. The cardiovascular risk is also very high in sports people, especially if they have a polycystic ovarian syndrome, because in that case, their training workload becomes excessive for them. Attempts to resolve the problems with the help of alcohol, drugs, and other distracting means are not effective, unfortunately. The only simple and effective solutions are regular physical exercises, which deeply influence stress, immune system, inflammation mediators. Physical exercises help to generate active forms of oxygen. They also help to combat stress. What are the takeaway lessons from our presentation? The interaction between the endocrine system and the heart is an extremely complicated physiological mechanism. In the period of sexual maturation, there is a change in the concentration of various hormones. The heart will respond to that by the heart rate and the change in the electrical axis, which is often observed in adolescents. Introduction of toxic factors may induce some processes which may become pathological. So, the recommendations are the same as ever: compliance with normal work and rest regime, regular physical exercises, right diet with all necessary nutrients, consultations with qualified specialists. All these things must be happening in the society, family, and school. And the work of the University of Leila Adamyan is actually a sanitary education. I'd also like to note in my final slide that actually the major problem is lack of awareness and information. Lack of enthusiasm and personal interest is also a very serious problem. We should disseminate and promote the ideas of healthy lifestyle. We need to teach our children just like we teach them to read, to write, or even to walk. In the same manner, we should teach them to take good care of their health. And this must become a rule for them. They must dedicate an hour of their time and life, just like us, to taking care of their health. Thank you very much for your attention. You know, I was very touched. That was a wonderful lecture, and it brings us back to the reproductive health from other positions. It doesn't exist separately from the heart. You know, the soul is somewhere in the heart, and I think that reproduction is in the second or third place somewhere there. Thanks a lot, Dr. Bakeria. Thank you. See you at the next conferences of the Open University of Leila Adamyan.